first, let's talk taxes. It looks like this is going to come down to the wire for any sort of extension for the Bush tax cuts.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, the president signing into law the small business bill that was passed last week, and we have some small business owners who are standing by on that. But first, Peter Barnes covering the story from the White House. And Peter, the president wants to focus on the economy, of course, between now and the midterms, but he's traveling around the nation, kind of a road show. What's up with that?
Absolutely right. He's in full campaign mode, Connell, as he tries to help Democrats that are going into the midterm elections. He is going to be talking economy, taxes, tax cuts, and he will be pushing for extending the Bush tax cuts only to the middle class. He did an interview this morning on the Today Show previewing that message over the next couple of weeks. Take a listen.
We can't spend $700 billion on a tax cut that is not going to spur job growth. We can spend money on things like infrastructure, on things like school construction, on making sure that small businesses are getting loans, because those are the things that are more likely to generate the job growth we need.
The president does sign that small business bill later this afternoon. Then he heads off to Albuquerque, New Mexico for his first trip this week, and later he'll be in Madison, Wisconsin. Connell?
And Peter, how does the prospect of the lame duck session after the elections play into this effort to extend, well, in the president's mind, some of the Bush tax cuts?
Well, that's where it's all probably going to be played out, and then you'll also see the Congress try to wrestle with the budget. Right now, the Congress has not finished any of the appropriations bills for the next fiscal year. They're going to approve a continuing resolution that will take them in later this week. That will take them into November. Then they're going to have to tackle that again in the lame duck session.
Peter, thank you so much. Peter Barnes in the nation's capital. All of this coming, as Peter pointed out, as the president signs a small business bill aimed at doling $1 billion to community banks for lending. But our next guests say not expecting big results from this. Rob Basso is the founder of Basso on Business. This is a payroll and human resources company. And Bob Schwartz is president of Ennislow Podorthic Enterprises, and these are retail stores for comfort shoes. Good to see you both, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Rob, to you first, something the president said, we don't need to spend this money on tax cuts. Instead, we need to refocus on things like lending to small businesses. Is that completely misplaced?
Well, here's the challenge. Small business owners need a reason for a loan. If they don't have a reason for a loan, there's no point in putting this $30 billion out there. I happen to be a founder of a small business community bank, and part of the challenge is the regulations that are on the other side of this bill make it challenging for businesses to get the money that this bill includes.
Well, Bob, what do you think, looking at the potential that these, well, people don't know what's going to happen with these tax cuts, and where does that leave you as a business owner? What type of uncertainty are you facing?
Well, we're currently facing uncertainty across the board with the banks we deal with, with our consumers really being concerned about families, jobs, cash flow, and they're paying off their debt. And so we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing people wanting to come to work for us. We would like to expand our business. We can't get the money to train the people, to afford to hire people who don't already have the skills that we need. So we're right in this pickle juice, if you will. We're just waiting to see if there'll be some clearing so we can start to grow our business again. But getting money for both personal and business is the biggest challenge we face right now.
Well, are you worried about tax increases potentially going into next year and what that would do to consumer spending?
Well, we're seeing tax increases. We're getting a sales tax increase in New York State. We're getting, we've just had the metropolitan commuter tax thrown at us. We're seeing our health care costs keep coming, our health benefit costs keep coming up. That's a tax on us. So we're just seeing it all over the place. We're looking for relief. We think the first thing that has to happen is that small business has to be looked at differently than big business. We are not salaried employees. We don't have the traditional means to capital. We have to use our own money, use the banks, look at cash flow, look at business direction. Right now, business is still near the bottom of where it's been.
Rob, you being in the payroll services business, what about the potential for a payroll tax cut? Would that work?
I think a payroll tax cut, there's a possibility there, but I think at best it would be a temporary response to what's going on. What's happening in the marketplace today is nearly a travesty because the politicians are politicking, and what it's doing is slowing up the growth of American businesses. America needs to get back to doing what it does best, and that's create jobs.
Well, do you say, is anything going to be different after the elections?
Well, this is a very interesting situation. I think regardless of which way that it goes, I think what we need to concentrate now is creating jobs and not waiting for new things to happen. Already they're introducing constantly new bills and new information, even to the small business thing that's been passed. Realistically, I don't think it's going to make a difference who's in control of what house.
One of the regulations is the 1099s that are required in the new health care law for businesses. They have to report their expenses above, what, $600?
Above $600. Right? This is a huge
And they still
burden.
have not taken care of that.
This is a significant burden on small business owners. I represent over 2,500 small business people and pay 80,000 people a week. They're burdened enough. Basically, they're being assaulted by these regulations and taxes, and they need relief.
Bob, you've been in business, and correct me if I'm wrong, 37 years. Have you ever faced an environment like this one today? And how is this different than other downturns you've seen in the past?
Well, I have faced it before. In 1981, when interest rates went up to 21%, I got caught right in the middle of that. Certainly the 87, 89 tax, stock market crash. So we've seen this before. The difference here is it's lasted a long time. We're already 2 years in. The cost of trying to get back out of it is just that we don't seem to be able to get the funding, the support to hire more people and grow our business.
Well, it seems like you think the spending is misplaced, too.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, there's a name that's being floated in some circles as a potential replacement for Larry Summers as the chair of the National Economic Council. It's former Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Alan Blinder. And Blinder's a frequent contributor to the Wall Street Journal and a defender of the president's economic policies. He had this op-ed in July where he said redirecting money from the expiring Bush tax cuts to unemployment benefits would be a net job creator and give the economy a much-needed boost. Rob?
Ronald Reagan said this best. The best social program is a job. I think going down that path of increasing benefits in that particular area creates larger social programs, not smaller social programs. People need jobs. They don't need checks from the government.
Right, and the government, and I'm going to give you the final word, Bob. Ronald Reagan also said, what are the worst words you want to hear? I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Is that where you're
he also said trickle-down economics, and that was not a happy moment for me in my experience. I think, again, the key is that we've got to get small business at the table with the politicians and talk about real needs, not pretend needs.
But in the words of Judge Judy, put on your listening ears. So that's what the politicians need to do. Thank you so much, Bob Schwartz and Rob Basso. Gentlemen, terrific to see you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. The first Judge Judy reference on the new show. We had to have that coming at some point. At 10 minutes past the hour, we have a lot more to come in this hour. Citigroup stirring the pot once again. The financial giant spending big tax